I thought it was interesting that Taproot Wizards, Udi and Eric, hosted Vitalik on a Twitter space. Um, I can't remember, yesterday, I think. We're recording this on Friday. It was on Thursday that they hosted him. I only listened to about half of it. I had meetings during the other half of it. But yeah, it was just interesting. It was titled "What Bitcoin Can Learn from Ethereum." Um, it's been fun to see all of the different takes on Twitter, especially after the fact. I saw a very praiseworthy comment, but it started with like, as someone from the Ethereum community, I really enjoyed, and so it was like, ooh, wait a minute, like, and then there were a lot of Bitcoin people who were against it, some who were for it, right? Obviously, the space, I think, at the most had like 3,000 listeners. Um, so yeah, it was listening to the talk. It was interesting because I don't know. There are these perspectives, right? Should Bitcoin ossify, right? The ossification, people talk about it all the time. Like, should it really set in stone as much as it can right now, as soon as possible? Or is there this idea that like every other blockchain is a testing ground for like good features, and Bitcoin should adopt good features that other things have? And so, um, anyway, I don't know, just to give a very broad perspective. Connor, I don't know if you've seen, or Brandon, if you've seen any specific things on either side of that.
Yeah, I just mentioned Chris Black, who we brought up a couple times in the podcast, but he's big, definitely anti it. Um, I don't know. Like, I feel like I sympathize with both sides sometimes. I see the arguments for both. We're pro Ethereum guys here, at least to the extent that we like, some of these technologies and the exciting things that you can do with smart contracts. So, I mean, 2 episodes ago, we did an episode about, why toxic Bitcoin maximalism, is not always the best solution. But I still like super respect what Bitcoin is, and the standards that the community has held to keep it decentralized and keep it just hard money basically as its use case, instead of kind of diving into this kind of open philosophy debate, which I see happen in Ethereum a lot, which is like, well, we don't, what should be the rules, and what can we do, and like, yeah, should this really, should this be a hard rule? Should immutability really be like the standard? That's going back to like the DAO debate when it got hacked, and Vitalik was basically like, his comments was like, I don't want to like put words in his mouth, but he basically said like, this idea that you can never change anything and it's immutable, like this is kind of silly. Like if there was a hack and something went wrong, like there's nothing to say that we shouldn't, course correct, which is fine, but it becomes a little problematic, if you're going to be creating these decentralized technologies. And then you start to say, well, sometimes it's okay to, reverse, and, who's making those decisions when the sometimes, cases are legitimate enough. So for those reasons, I like what Bitcoin is. And I think, Bitcoin should stay more or less on the path that it has been. I don't want, my money to be confiscated or, um, manipulated by anybody. So yeah, in that sense, I agree with the Bitcoin maximalists there. But I do think that Bitcoin cannot do everything. So either you are open to some level of second layer activities, which Bitcoin ordinals, the Taproot updates, these people are saying, hey, maybe we can do some other things on Bitcoin. And I think that's okay. And I do think that there's some things they can learn from Ethereum without totally, opening the floodgates. But it's hard to say where those boundaries should be drawn.
We just need more medium of exchange opportunities, is essentially what I've been gathering from our podcast the past couple of weeks when we've been having these conversations, and what that looks like. I'm still trying to figure that out, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I think there's a couple of sides to that, right? In that it seems like Bitcoin maximalists, the only way to convince them to make a change on Bitcoin would be, if you could somehow make it easier to exchange it, without changing the block size, right? Because we had that debate,
Yeah.
5-6 years ago, right? And so that's kind of the, what started the whole SegWit and Taproot. I think the like
Yeah.
rationale was that it made transactions more efficient, even slightly more efficient. And so I I don't know. I more or less agree with you, Connor. I think I if anything, I feel like I sympathize with the Bitcoin builders a bit more. But I agree. I think there's a need for this immutable permissionless money, right?
Mhm.
Which is what the Bitcoin maximalists want to do. But then I also think that we need to have a decentralized web and be able
Yeah.
to do some of the things that, maybe not all the things, but at least some of the things that Ethereum is doing, right? And that could, like, Uniswap, I think, is an incredible platform, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what kind of fees they take and what they do with those fees, but this idea of creating this automated market maker, this decentralized exchange, this idea that anybody can create a pair and it is swappable. I don't have to ask anybody's permission. It's like a stock exchange that runs 24/7, right? And so anyway, I don't know. I value enough of those technologies that I think you either. My question to the Bitcoin maximalist would be, do you want this running natively or on a layer 2 of Bitcoin, and as close to Bitcoin as it can, or are you fine with saying, let's have this in a different system? In which case, yes, then I'd be pro Ethereum. I don't know that I'm pro Ethereum though. I'm pro the stuff Ethereum's doing, but
Yes.
I'm more pro Bitcoin, and I'd like to see,
Yeah.
and there are people who talk already who, there's like one or two BIPs, Bitcoin improvement protocols, that would be, I don't know, we could argue how simple the change is to the base layer, but it would allow for, more trustless layer 2s, and so it's not like, oh, smart contracts and stuff happening on, Bitcoin itself, but,
Yeah.
an easier in and out of a layer 2 that can then, offload some of this functionality that we want to see.
Matt, as you're saying that, I think I fall in your camp too, where I like the things that I can do on Ethereum. But I like Bitcoin just a little bit better because of there's the galvanization that it's instilled in the market in terms of stability in projects, and for people that want to invest in some of those smaller projects, it's oftentimes dependent on how stable is Bitcoin going to be, because that will determine how much development goes on as a whole in the space. It's not, and it's funny because the Bitcoin maximalists hate that, but there's a reason why Luna's philosophy was the year that they went under, they were going to invest in a ton of Bitcoin. Why? Because Bitcoin is the most stable. Uniswap, the more I've been diving into this, it's an incredible tool. And Ethereum is just kind of becoming a necessary evil, where, like gasoline, for my car, you need Ethereum to be able to drive on Web3 essentially. And that's just, I mean, not saying that that's what I'm noticing is, like, why would I hold on to more Ethereum than I need to for just driving on Web3, so to speak? That's the mentality that I've been kind of, as I've been getting more mature with this stuff. It's been like, why would I go right into ETH when I should probably go into something else that isn't as high of gas fees, and also I'm already using Ethereum for gas fees, so why would I want, you get what I'm saying? It's like all of those things, and it's just, it's interesting how you mature in this space and you learn more, and it's just it's yeah.
That's like 100% like my mentality is just like, because this is what the Bitcoin maximalists always say. They're like, Ethereum is not hard money, it's not sound money, and they have all these proofs to basically show you why Ethereum is not as good money as Bitcoin. And it's like, yeah, I agree with you. Like, I don't think of Ethereum as money at all. Like, it has, and I argue with these people sometimes on Twitter, and like I just try to, like, ram home this point, which is like, I'm not like in Ethereum because I think it is better than Bitcoin at being money at all. Like, I would rather keep my money in Bitcoin and just have the Ethereum that I need to do what I need to do on Ethereum, because I can't do that on Bitcoin. And
Yes.
it's just hard having these conversations with these people sometimes because there's just so much on the money aspect. And it's like, money isn't everything. Like, we need to do other things as well. And so until you can give me a viable alternative, like, I think Ethereum is necessary. So it is kind of interesting to your point, Matt. Like, could there be a second layer that is basically what Ethereum does, but just uses Bitcoin as the gas fees?
Yeah.
That would be super interesting if we could actually build that. And I mean, maybe even the Bitcoin maximalists would allow that because it's not happening on main chain.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know all the technical stuff that would have to go because Ethereum is a base layer. So you're basically saying, let's build a second layer that acts like what Ethereum is as a base layer.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
Yeah, and not to get too into the technicals, I don't even know all the technicals.
Yeah.
I think it's, if you want to read into it, I think it's BIP 300 and 301 would both allow for certain things to be able to be built on Bitcoin. It would allow, so smart contracts actually exist on Bitcoin. I don't know how much we all know about that, but I could time lock an amount of Bitcoin in a smart contract, right? So like, hey, this can't be accessed for,
right, yeah,
so many blocks. But that's a smart contract, right? It has a certain code. It's not Turing complete. It's not like a full interpretive language, but they're like so many codes, op codes that you could use with Bitcoin. And like a multi-sig works the same way, right? It says, hey, we're putting it in this wallet and you need 2 of 3 wallets to access it. And so anyway, the one thing we're missing is I think you need, with either 300 or 301, you need an opcode to allow for people to like be able to withdraw Bitcoin from this smart contract, but like be able to like withdraw how much they put in, right? So like if I have, and this is how the layer 2s work on Ethereum, right? There's a smart contract which somehow deals with all this stuff, right? But I deposit my ETH to get onto Arbitrum, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I can, even if Arbitrum is blocking me, like from ETH, I can withdraw my ETH back into my account. So it's something like that. That's the missing point. And once you have that, I think from the layer 2 side, you can make it EVM. You could, make it proof of stake. I don't know. I imagine that the possibilities are, maybe not endless, but it opens up a whole lot more. But I think after the Taproot stuff and all these ordinals, I think Bitcoin Core and these Bitcoin maxis are a lot more hesitant to approve of something.
Yeah.
The project that I talked to you guys about sometimes that I've been in for a while, Tectum, they took some Bitcoin as like for like fractional Bitcoin as like gas to convert Bitcoin into their native token, and they called it Dust. So that was interesting. So I have seen examples of it used before where Bitcoin is the gas. I don't know how they did that. That's why I kind of want to get those guys on the show to talk about crypto as a whole, as a medium of exchange and what they're doing, and just understand how some of that stuff worked when they were doing that initial seed investing back when the project was $1. And now it's interesting though, because I invested in that project in Bitcoin, and now I'm taking out my profits on Uniswap. I've just never seen anything like that before. It's Bitcoin maxis probably gonna hate that, but if it works, it works. I'm not gonna question it, So that's just some stuff that I'm like, something's working there. I'm not sure what, but they might have just built a bridge that I didn't even know was possible. So. Yeah. I really want to have those guys on to ask them about it. Hopefully they can come on soon.
Anyway, I know how easy it is for us to kind of devolve the conversation into Bitcoin discussion. Any other news?